how many times have you been sitting in church or at some venue or just playing and you wish you could take your simple chords and change it into maybe what you've heard? Or always wondered, how do musicians take like a simple chord progression or a chord progression that you may even be familiar with yourself because maybe at your level you can play or you're playing that simple. You want to take it and say, nah, man, I want to go further. I want to take this and make it bigger and sound bigger, sound more gospel. So how do we do something like that? How do we take the simple things and mutate it to make it sound like it's more complicated and it's actually going someplace else? Let's discuss. I'm Chris Moses, and this is Gospel Progressions University, where I'm here to equip you as a church musician. Now, I'm going to talk about some things that we've discussed and some things that are discussed in my free guide. You can actually check that out over at gospelprogressionsuniversity.com/Gospel Keys Pro. The name of the guide is What Do Pro Musicians Know That You Don't? So let's take a look at a simple, easy chord progression. It's going to be in the key of B flat major. And we're not going to play anything fancy at first. No sharps, no flats. Just going to keep it simple and in the simplest form. And typically when we're playing something like this, we can just imagine that maybe it's a CCM kind of chord progression. And this is something that you would play during maybe worship or just the beginning of a service or whatever it may be, right? Right, 2. I'll do it again. So I'm playing B flat F, B flat C, D. Right, the first chord number 1 is major. Second chord is going to be minor. Okay. I may do that, or I may do something like that. C, G, B flat, C, E flat, G. Repeating the same thing I did, but just leaving out the B flat this time. Is D, B flat, C, D, F, B flat, and then I might do E flat, B flat, C, D, F, G. All right. Or do this. I may do this, so I may go. Something like that, right? You get the idea. You can even keep it more simple than this. Just B flat, C minor, 7. And so with music, as I've discussed in so many videos, it goes from tension and it goes to release. So something like this could be played for CCM, Christian contemporary music, or it can be played for, like I said, talk music or the beginning part of a service. And I play stuff like that for talk music all the time. But we may want to bring up the intensity, bump up the intensity. So what are some ways we can actually bump up the intensity without actually without turning up the volume, and just making playing the same thing? I'm not going to turn the volume up, but just being louder with it, like, that there is some intensity, but doing that after a while, being that you're probably at your max volume, and if you don't know anything else, once you're at your peak, well, that's what a peak is, you have nowhere else to go but down. So you want to leave yourself some room. So when you're playing something like that, you have plenty of room and plenty of options. So let's talk about that. Some of the options that we're going to look at here, when we build something like this up, right? We know our major scale. We have all the notes, we have that down. And now let's look at a pentatonic scale. And I say there are a plethora of pentatonic scales. Pentatonic just means a 5-tone scale. All right. And in this case, we're going to look at the B flat major pentatonic. And we'll look at like 3 of them. So there are 3. Once you know the key of B flat, you know all the major pentatonics in that key. So essentially, if you know all these notes, you know all of them. So what I'm saying is the first major pentatonic is going to be B flat, major pentatonic. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tones, or note number 1, 2, 3, and we go to 5 and 6. The next one, this is our first one, is major. The second one is from the 1, 2, 3, 4th interval, which would be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. If we were playing it in E flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it would, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Or 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, if you were looking at it like that. That's hard for me to remember. So I just reset. Everything is based off the major key for me. So B flat, the 1, pentatonic, the 4 pentatonic, and finally the 5. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. And these, you never leave the key of B flat major. So, you know, we can do several things with them as we play. We could do that, and it's still kind of mellow. There's a million things that go through my mind, but it's, of course, there's forward momentum. Of course, the chords are resolving. It's going from 1 and ending up on 4 because, well, typically we have the B flat would resolve either up a 4th to E flat or down a 5th to E flat if it was played as what would be called a dominant chord. So that's one way we can actually make, and I'm giving you a hint of what I'm actually going to talk about there, how we're going to actually take that chord progression and shift the tonal center. The tonal center is what we tell the ear what the music is. And just like I always say, this is all music theory, and it isn't music fact. If you walked into the room and you heard somebody play just that note there, that's your 4th, right? You would assume, if you were a musician or just anyone listening intently, listening closely enough to the music to pick up on what's being played, and they just held this out for a while. And if you had an instrument in front of you, or if you had absolute pitch or perfect pitch, all right, listen, it's E flat. And maybe assume that the key itself was in E flat, or they're gonna get ready to play in E flat. But you didn't have any context. You just walked into the room and that was the final chord that was played. But that's the brain. That's the way we process audio. And we process things and we'll say, okay, we'll assume, we'll think that's what it is, when that's not necessarily what it is. And people see and hear theory and, you know, and these scales and keys and whatever, and it's, you have to do it like this. You don't, because it's what we play and it's what the person hears. It's like when we communicate. When we have these chord progressions, now we're gonna move up. We're moving up, we are moving towards the 4, but it's still very B flat based. So the tonal center is sticking to B flat. So how can we utilize what we know using the 3 pentatonics we just learned and actually come up with something else and come up with something that's more creative and something that gives a little more tension and kind of raises the bar a little bit or raises the tension a little bit so we can have more tension and even more release if we need it, when we need it. So what we can do here, we have our pentatonic scale, right? We know that, but the pentatonic scale is still, you know, it's still in B flat. We're basically playing the entire B flat scale, and you know, it doesn't do a whole lot to give us the tension that we might be looking for. So how can we shift that now? Because I want to shift the tonal center and move it to where it's actually going. And think about it. This is a chord progression, progress, or moving forward. So we're going from B flat and we progress to E flat. We're really resolving on E flat. So with that in mind, so if we are going to E flat, we can actually make E flat the new tonal center. If we pay attention and we look at the key of E flat major, we can shift it and say, oh, wait a minute. We know that there's a B flat in there, and the B flat, that interval, the 5th interval, the chord itself is major. So if we inverted this B flat and took it and put it to our root, and the root can be played anywhere, but we're so used to hearing it in the bottom, so I'll point to the bottom and say the root. And say, let's play from this inversion. Automatically our ear says, okay, there's something different about that. We have B flat and we're tuned because I was playing B flat before that little movement from 1, 2, 3, 4, but now we've shifted it. And it's no longer a B flat major. And somebody might, you know, somebody that's pedantic might, well, that's just E flat played with B flat in the bass. Well, okay, yeah, it is. But your ear is hearing something different because the chord progressions that's going to come out of that is going to give the brain, give the listener a different experience and a different texture while they're listening to what you're playing. So keep in mind the 3 scales that we learned, right? Specifically 2 there, but I wanted you to see the 3rd one, the F pentatonic scale, F major pentatonic. But that one I kind of threw in there for extra because there's a lot that we can actually do with this. But just keep in mind at least the first two, the B flat major pentatonic and the E flat major pentatonic. Now, going back now to that B flat scale, this is known not as the B flat major scale. It's not the backwards or an inverted E flat scale. You would technically call this, if we're having B flat as a tonic, the B flat Mixolydian is the fifth mode of the major scale of E flat, but we're just playing it as a root. So now that can actually help us to get a better sound, because in all actuality it kind of is E flat, but we're playing it in a way that tells the ear it's going to be still B flat, but you're going to have it want it to be pulled between E flat and B flat. So if we took those same chords and we just change them a little bit, remember the chords are basically 1, 2 in E flat, in B flat, 3 and 4. Now we can do this. We can say, okay, first chord. Automatically we're all right, and we just added something now. This A flat. This is the flatted 7 for B flat. In other words, we have a dominant chord. Dominant chords are usually 5 chords. They're dominant because the sound, the ear, wants to resolve back to from here to here. So we have this now. So the chord is basically B flat, F, A flat. Basically like playing a C minor 7th over a B flat, right? So 1, and now we go to 2, which is essentially like an E flat, an A flat 2 over C. It's basically like playing this. An A flat is not in B flat, but it's in E flat. But it's definitely in B flat Mixolydian, right? So think like that. Don't think, so much what key you're in, but just think about what scale you're playing, because that opens up everything wide open. You put I would say invisible handcuffs on yourself, so to speak, if you just think, well, what key are we in? So we have here, this is the second chord, all right? The third chord now is going to be just like B flat, like we did before, but except it's going to be this here. So far what we have is this. So we have this first chord, second chord, third chord. All right, now we can resolve like we did with the fourth chord and go back to this, because this would work for the B flat Mixolydian. But why start there? All right, we can try something else. All right, but before we do, I want to show you this, how we would utilize the pentatonic scales and actually make it sound bigger. So we would have this and give it that gospel flair that we're looking for. This definitely will take you gospel, but I'm about to show you. All right, 1. Well, it sounds like that already, in my opinion. 2, 3. All right, and we go to here. That right there you need to learn. You have to learn that in every key. And what that is, I just took the 2 pentatonic scales and kind of smushed them together and then made chords. The B flat major pentatonic and the E flat major pentatonic. So the chords really are simple. You've heard them before. It's just the first chord, the B flat chord, and the second of that B flat major scale. So C minor, 1 major, 2 minor, B flat major, C minor, B flat major again, 2 minor, B flat, C minor, B flat, C minor. All right. That's what that is, and that's your gospel move. It works because gospel depends so much, and I talk about that in my guide, so much on the pentatonic scale. But because you're playing 2 of them, pay attention here. B flat, D, C, D, F, G is the pentatonic. These 5 notes overlap with this 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So this is, if I try to play every note here, these are all the keys, all the notes between both of them. So in other words, the B flat pentatonic and the E flat pentatonic only have 1 note difference. They're all the same notes. All of E flat pentatonic tones is covered by B flat, and except for 1, and all of B flat pentatonic tones are going to be covered in E flat major pentatonic, save 1. And really, you're just adding another note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you could say that instead of 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes. And so what we can do is take that and come up with chords. Okay? See here? And just keep repeating the pattern. And here's a pro tip for you. To sound really good doing that, instead of starting on a 2, start on the 1 whenever you do that walk up. Practice that walk up like ascending and then descending. So it's starting on 1, 1. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. and the 1 again. I wouldn't play that last chord the way I did, because I would change it, and I would do something like this. Again, the first chord, all right, second one, third one. Now the fourth chord is, now it sounds, wow, this is cool. You actually have something that sounds, because we introduced now 2 elements, the A flat and the D flat. Keep in mind that dominant chords want to resolve to one another, always up a 4th or down a 5th. In other words, B flat wants to go to E flat wants to go to A flat, D flat, G flat, B flat, and so on. With this chord, it's an almost dominant, but the D is not played, so it's suspended. It's a suspended chord, and it's kind of between being dominant and not. We can play the dominant, but this makes it sound full, and then, all right, we can do that. A flat, because remember, we have the scale here, and in this scale, we have an A flat, so we can play it. And A flat, E flat conveniently goes to A flat. We can do it before, or we can do it after. Doing that cycle over and over again. But when you have here, you have chords that are tense enough to take you between almost between 2 keys pretty much, because of the added dominance of the B flat dominant and the E flat dominant. Along with this, we can introduce something else, and that would be your blues scale for the minor blues scale. And which minor blues scale would that be? Well, it would be the key center that we're playing in, which is technically B flat. So you see how that works? So what that is this: B flat, D flat, E flat, E, F, and A flat. Your B flat minor blues scale is a 6-tone or hexatonic scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have here. Now we could resolve here, because with this scale here, we have this sound here, and we can still walk up and go right back to that B flat Mixolydian. Here, and then we go here. Okay, so what that does now, that allows us to do different things. We can say, all right, fine, we want to go do that 5-1 movement. This would be 5, 3, 4, and make it 1, 2. This is essentially what you're doing. But at any time, you can go right back to playing not nice and sweet if you wanted to, right? Maybe a breakdown. Very sweet, and just go right back into it like nothing had happened. Whatever, right? And just get crazy with it. That's the beautiful thing about knowing these scales. The beautiful thing about being able to hear. All you're doing is this. Go on the internet. Search online for scales, right? You don't have to play, there's so many of them, but just experiment. The ones I like the most, my favorite ones are the melodic minor, the diminished scale, and the pentatonic scale, right? And so you can take those scales, or just one of them, the melodic minor, for example, and say, well, I kind of want to mess around with that. I want to, see how that works. Look at every scale tone that you can come up with. Like, for example, I could look at the melodic minor scale, and it's a 7-tone scale, just like the major scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I picked E flat melodic minor. And typically it's the 4th away from B flat, because many of the notes, the first 4 notes match B flat. The first 4 notes of B flat major. So E flat melodic minor would be E flat, F, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, D, E flat. So B flat, C, D, E flat is just like B flat with B flat, C, D, E flat. If I said B, I meant B flat. But the rest of it up to F, these first 5 notes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 7 notes of the scale. That's most of the scale tone. So you can use that and kind of get creative with it. So what we have here is something like this. We will have the same chord progression we did before, right? All right. Something like that you can do. I'll do it slower, right? So walk up. And then you could switch now to the melodic minor. What it is a C, D, E flat, so E flat minor. All right, second inversion, F minor. First inversion, E flat minor. So E flat, it's basically the same gospel. 1, minor 2, minor 1, but it's can't be 1 as far as major. Major 1, minor 2, major 1. It's minor 1, minor 2 because the first triad in E flat melodic minor is an E flat minor. Second triad is an F minor. So it's 1, minor 1, minor 2, minor 1. All right, so again. So on. Don't limit yourself to what people tell you and what you see on YouTube as far as what somebody may be trying to teach you. Because again, it's just theory. That's all it is. It's experimentation. You have to trust your ears. Trust what sounds good. Trust what makes you feel good. All right. So with that, I hope this has helped you. I hope this has been a blessing to you. Any questions, please, you can go ahead. Tell me what you think about this video in the comment section. I try to get to all the comments at some point in time. Now, if you want to explore the pentatonic scale and explore gospel a little bit more, you can go check out my free guide. Again, it's at gospelprogressionsuniversity.com/Gospel Keys Pro. It's called What Do Pro Musicians Know That You Don't? God bless you, and I will see you in the next video.